All right, what's going on, everyone? Seth here, registered dietitian, and I recently watched Enter the Dragon, the 1970s Bruce Lee film, and it got me thinking. I've seen a lot of people talk about his martial arts training and his general fitness philosophy, but I haven't seen too many people talk about or break down his nutrition. What did he eat to stay so shredded and to stay so in shape for those movies and everything he was doing? So that's what we're going to do today. Let's take a look at the nutrition and lifestyle of Bruce Lee. So one of the first things to know about Bruce is that he was about 5'7" and between 130 and 145 pounds in his prime. So he was not a big person, but he was extremely lean. From the pictures I've seen, I estimate his body fat to be around 6%, maybe 7%. But he needed to stay very light on his feet because of all the combat sports and stunts he was doing in the movies. Interestingly, he tried bulking up back in the 60s and he got up to 165 pounds. He was more muscular, but he felt like he couldn't move as fluidly as when he was lighter weight. Now, Bruce's daily training regimen was pretty intense. It would include endurance running, cycling, calisthenics, weight training, and hours of martial arts training almost daily. Now, Bruce wasn't a big person, but even to maintain 130 pounds with that level of physical activity requires a decent amount of calories. I don't think Bruce tracked his calories, but I was able to estimate based on his biometrics, he would need somewhere around 2,800 calories per day just to maintain a body weight of 130 pounds. The fact that he stayed so lean tells me that he was probably in a calorie deficit a lot of the time, so he was probably not eating quite 2,800 most days, but on average it would be somewhere in that ballpark. Otherwise, he would just be losing weight over time. All right, so what did Bruce eat every day? What did his nutrition actually look like? Now, I'll talk about his meal pattern first. Bruce liked to eat 4 to 5 small meals per day spaced out a little closer together as opposed to 2 or 3 larger meals, which is more traditional in Western and even Eastern cultures. He never wanted to feel bogged down after eating a big heavy meal, so spreading out the calories more evenly throughout the day with smaller meals allowed him to stay light on his feet and not feel like he had to crash or take a nap after eating a meal. And I'm sure you've noticed this as well. Even if you don't do martial arts or some kind of sports, even having a big meal before going to train in the gym often can make you feel sluggish and a little heavy as opposed to being energetic and feeling like you're ready to go for a workout. And there's good reason for this. After a big meal, your nervous system goes into what's called parasympathetic mode, which basically means it signals your body to want to rest and digest, because if you're up doing a lot of strenuous physical activity, it's harder to digest the food you just ate. Not to mention a lot of blood flow goes to your digestive system after a big meal, which pulls from the muscles and your extremities where you might need them for training activity. So this was a really smart approach from Bruce that I think fit his goals really well. Bruce had a very Eastern philosophy when it came to the actual foods that he ate. He didn't think of food as something that you indulged in for fun. Instead, he viewed it as fuel for the body. In other words, what is this food going to do for me as an athlete and a martial artist trying to perform at a peak level? And the food that Bruce ate was very Cantonese-inspired. You had a lot of proteins like beef and seafood, as well as lots of vegetables and white rice, which served as a nice glycogen base to fuel all of the training that he was doing every day. Bruce was also really big on juicing. He would have a fresh juice smoothie every day. These would largely be made up of things like apples and celery, parsley and carrots, fresh vegetables and fruits that he would put into a shake and drink, which was probably a little bit more convenient and a lot less time consuming than eating all of those foods individually. On top of that, Bruce would have a daily protein shake as well, with protein powder, powdered milk, bananas, peanut butter, raw eggs, and sometimes even the egg shells for the extra calcium. Although I don't recommend the egg shells because you can get salmonella from that, there are plenty of other ways to get your calcium in. But Bruce wasn't totally inoculated from the Western influence of food options. Lots of anecdotes exist saying that he would drink soft drinks on set and he would have McDonald's and even have ice cream to go along with his clean food that he did eat. This was likely the source of a lot of the calories that he needed to maintain even what body weight he had, again, with such extreme levels of physical activity every day. So what can we take away from Bruce Lee's approach to nutrition? Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is always trying to match your nutrition to your goal, viewing food as a tool for achievement rather than something that you just indulge in for pleasure. If your goal is to be a 6% body fat martial artist who has to do his own stunts every day and has to be light on his feet, then Bruce's approach to nutrition was perfectly aligned with his goals. And I think that goes for everyone, regardless of your goal. Make sure your nutrition matches what you're trying to do with your body, your health, fitness, workouts. Make sure there is alignment. So anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoy the breakdown, feel free to subscribe along to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.